So Daniel, what level did you pick?
I chose Wario's Castle, which is the final stage of the game. If you look at some of the initial challenges, they encourage you to wait at times. So for example, on the very first part of the level, you'll see that there's an item block right before the spiky, and that seems to be there just to stop players moving ahead so that they can visually see that the spiky ball is present, and then from there they can then move forward. It seems that the challenges are constructed in a way that you'll usually see a spiky ball coming forward before you actually get into its range.
So Daniel, where do you stand on the idea that the theme of Wario's Castle is maintaining your momentum?
In some ways, there are certain elements that encourage a continual stream of movement. If you look at the piranha plant enemies, because you can visibly see that they're going to attack you, there's a bit of forewarning there, and so they kind of act in a similar fashion to the other elements in that they do encourage you to move on forwards. So there is an element to it as well. Oh, and also the floating platforms as well. Like if you miss one, then you kind of have to wait, and so perhaps there is an aspect of momentum to that level. But I remember when I played this before, and I was certainly more careful and hesitant as opposed to just moving forwards.
Okay.
I got a question. Are the
Yes.
Wario hands impossible to get through unscathed once you activate them?
You can actually get through there unscathed.
That is probably, I think without a doubt, the hardest thing to get through the level unscathed.
Well, the hardest and the easiest, because once you know what's there, the challenge is simply remembering the location of the switches,
Yep.
which is pretty trivial because they're all in the same location.
Yeah. I think the first section is probably the most interesting to replay through, whereas these later sections get more strict and linear and in some ways even more basic, like this part with the skull platforms here. I actually think it's not even that difficult to begin with because it's just like one block platforms that you can walk and then jump to. You don't even need to hold the B button to reach them. And then these platforms with the bones that are supposed to lift you up to the spike, like, it's easy enough to just keep running, jump, and then jump to each one. Like, you have 2 blocks of space to work with, and they're not that fast that you need to run. So you can just walk and jump your way through, and that's just a matter of, like, really simple timing.
What's interesting, I'm noticing right now, is that no two elements are combined except for the spike balls and the piranha statues.
Even those things are actually spaced pretty far apart from the piranha shooters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I rather enjoy the kind of final levels where you've got, different elements from the different parts of the game that come together and they make a mega challenge. But in here, yeah, I don't think all of these elements, or at least on the functions that they have been represented too much in the game so far. So it goes to something totally different.
The stage is a sort of gauntlet, which is not what this game has been about to this point. It really thrives on momentum for the most part. Most of the elements are interacted with in a fairly similar way, in that it's just something you need to get by before it can activate its hazard or before it can take you to the lava or spikes or what have you.
A lot of elements are like that, but then you have like the floating platforms with the propeller platforms, which are like the complete opposite.
I agree, those are very much the outlier, and because they come in the middle those along with the Wario hands part, which is more of like a puzzle part, if you want
Right.
to make that judgment. Those sort of form like a middle portion of the level that slows the pace, and then it sort of picks back up.
Contextually, it does represent a gauntlet in that you've got lava, you've got spikes, you've got these very dangerous elements, and the situations, particularly with the lava, are more high risk. And so it certainly has that contextual theme to it. One aspect that would build onto the gauntlet idea as well is that you have these long horizontal rooms where you're challenged, but then you also have these areas where you can have a reprieve, and that kind of seems to fit into that model in some ways. I'm sure there's some allusions there to that system.
Part of what also makes me just, the word gauntlet come to mind is the way that it, like, each challenge is repeated 3 times. I guess that doesn't really apply to the first room. The first room's a little more freeform than that. But after that, you've got 3 floating platforms, 3 Wario hands, 3 etc. of each. So it makes it feel like it's teaching you and then testing you right away.
Yeah, the rhythm is very start-stop, rather than like a careful build-up of theme and variation.
Well, I guess it is, a series of vignettes of 3 different types of challenges.
Also contributing to the gauntlet idea is the fact that there is no midway bell.
Right. Yeah.
I guess if there were some other theme as opposed to momentum, the gauntlet, then it may be just 3. There's 3 floors. There are 3 sets of challenges for each of the elements.
3 parts to the Wario balls and 3 parts to the Wario boss fight.
The structure of this level would be first set of challenges, vertical reprieve, second set of challenges, vertical reprieve, third set, and then you have a few extra challenges, and then you have a room where you get a power-up, and then you have the boss battle. So it kind of follows that structure.
Yeah, this level seems pretty straightforward.
I have a theory overall about this game, which is that because of the limited screen real estate, it's really hard for the developers to fit in several different elements into one arrangement in a very clean and organized way that doesn't involve a lot of screen scrolling. And so I think that kind of limits the potential of a lot of the challenges in the game.